Yo, what's up everyone? Arcanist PvP back. I've got another Elder Scrolls Online video for you today, the updated Sorcerer PvP guide for version 1.2.3, which was implemented yesterday. I'd figured I'd come out with a new PvP guide since there have been quite a few changes to the Sorcerer class in the game in general. There is going to be a link to these official patch notes in the description of the video if you would like to check them out for yourself. They added a FOV slider for first person. Doesn't matter to us if you're PvPing in first person. Best of luck to you. And lots of other stuff. Like I said, tons of changes. We can now craft light jerkins. I don't have to wear a dress anymore. That's fantastic. I do want to point out a couple changes. Dragon Knights got an ability, Flame Lash, that increased damage and healing for this ability. I can't believe they would increase damage or healing for fucking anything for Dragon Knights. Are you kidding me? This class is so overpowered right now, and they're going to increase damage and healing for an ability? It's just fucking nuts. Burning Talons did get their ability damage over time decreased. Thanks for that, I guess. Just don't get it. Nightblades, tons of changes. Hopefully we'll stop hearing them QQ. Sorcerer changes. Crystal Blast is the AoE morph into Crystal Shard. Doesn't matter. You cannot instantly cast it, so still not viable. Crystal Fragments Instaproc is now apparently more noticeable. I don't notice it at all. Dark Deal, this Dark Exchange morph, you can now move while channeling it. I switched to this, and I'll explain why later in the video. Restraining Prison. Players removed from one character, it no longer removes, but that doesn't matter. Daedric Summoning, you can now control your pets better. Doesn't matter. No, pets are still not viable. You know, I think it's 10% per pet, less magicka in your magicka pool to have them, so don't take pets again. Storm Atronach, but now apparently switches targets faster, resulting in slightly increased damage. This could be helpful for us. I hope so. That is actually the way it works. And some other cosmetic stuff. Like I said, Templars got huge buffs. They were already almost impossible to kill, and now they got all of these buffs. It's just, I don't get it. I don't know who's balancing this game. Okay, guys, let's get right into it. I want to make this video shorter than my last build video. I understand a half hour is a long time for anything on YouTube, so I just wanted to be really thorough and make sure you understand why I was doing what I was doing in that first PvP guide. So if you need any explanations on the passives or anything that's not explained in this video, make sure you check back for that first Sorcerer PvP guide for any additional information. So, Sorcerer, High Elf, I was a little adamant about being a High Elf being the best race for the class. Breton is also very viable with all their magicka passives. Breton and High Elf are the most viable races for Sorcerer, though. Full light armor, no medium, no heavy. I was 20 magicka, 29 health before. I now have gone full 49 health. The 200 magicka, you know, it's 10 points per point in magicka and stamina. 200 magicka, I actually lost 120 because of the overcharged magicka with the light armor and racial passives. So by putting those extra 20 into health, I got that extra 300 health, 15 points per health. So I got an extra 300 health, much more usable. Helpful, I should say. I was taking the Apprentice before. I think I'm going to switch to the Thief because the Thief actually applies to all of your abilities and attacks, you know, light and heavy attacks with your weapon. This, the Apprentice, only applies to spell penetration. So I think the Thief is going to be more viable, especially since I'm not going to be using Inner Light anymore, and I'll explain to you why later. Let's move right into the class abilities. Dark Magic, I have respect, so a lot of the abilities have changed since the last guide, and I have switched from suppression field to absorption fields. So many people have overcharged spell resistance, overcharged spell resistance that the suppression field is almost redundant. So I have taken the other one, absorption field, restoring 12 health and magicka upon dispelling any enemy effects. I don't use it unless I'm in a big group, though. Keep that in mind. Crystal Shard, I did mention earlier that they increased that AoE damage on Crystal Blast. Still doesn't matter. You want to be able to get those instant procs. It is your main DPS ability. Encase and Rune Prison I don't use. They're not very good CC abilities. Easily out of. I think Encase only affects one person, so it's terrible. Dark Exchange, I did touch on this just a second ago. This Dark Deal, I apologize for this website. The tooltips have not been updated, but Dark Deal no longer applies armor or spell resistance increases, but you can now cast it while moving. So this is great in a mobile class like Sorcerer. To be able to cast this while moving is a great update. I don't use it all the time, but I typically have it on my second bar. Definitely switched to the Dark Deal from Dark Conversion. Daedric Mines I have not used or touched on ever. They didn't look very appealing to me, but I have recently seen a sorcerer use them that may be the best dueling sorcerer I have ever seen. By standing in the middle of these mines, he is able to keep melee at bay, so I'm definitely going to explore the usage of Daedric Minefield. But as of now, it's not in my build, so I'm not going to take it. And passives, as I explained before, I'm not going over. I went over my last video, but I am taking all of them. Daedric Summoning, Charged Atronach as opposed to the Greater Storm Atronach. This one has greater health and longevity. You want the large AoE damage. This is my main ultimate that I use. Because what am I doing? Because also the fact that having a slotted Daedric Summoning ability increases your health generation by 20%. Pets, the Twilight and Familiar, just go ahead and throw them in the trash. Unless you're PvE All-Star, then they're fantastic. Daedric Curse, I did not touch on this at all in my last build video. I apologize. I use Velocious Curse often. It is a great ability, mainly because there is so much spell reflection out there that this is not a projectile and it still does a huge amount of damage. That it does not get reflected, but great in your burst rotation. The only reason I wasn't using it in the video before is because Bolt Escape was so OP that I was, able to take on very large groups with having that ward and Bolt Escape conjunction. But now that they have nerfed it, I definitely have to go other directions. Bound Armor, don't take it as well because they're reducing max magicka. I mean, you see these noobs out there in Cyrodiil with the Bound Armor, Winged Twilight, and Unstable Familiar. They can cast like 2 spells and they have no magicka, and then they rely on these pets to try to kill somebody, and it's just ridiculous. Hardened Ward, as you know, I've explained in almost all my videos, it is a fantastic ability. I am keeping it on my defense bar now. All the passives we are taking. Storm Calling. They did increase the light damage for Overload, but still there are much better choices in a damage ultimate such as Soul Assault or Meteor, so I do not recommend Overload. Mage's Fury. Endless Fury, I did tell you that they fixed the morph ability where it restores magicka, so now that ability is even better. Always keep that on your first bar. You don't want somebody to get a heal off when you get them down to 20% while you're switching bars and trying to cast it. You want to be able to cast this as soon as possible. Lightning Form, don't use. Maybe a full tank sorcerer spec would use Lightning Form. Lightning Splash, definitely PvE AoE stuff. Critical Surge I didn't touch on either. I greatly apologize. This ability is amazing, especially with any type of crit build. If you can get heals out of your critical strikes, it's fantastic. The only issue with this is having to manage your magicka. I'm sure it's not going to be much of an issue for me once I hit 12, but for now, using Critical Surge is hard to fit into the rotation without going but I do like to use it just because a Sorcerer's Burst is so high, and if you are having this crit builds, and I know I removed Inner Light, but I'm replacing it with Spell Crit Potions, which is why I can remove it. You pop Critical Surge and get a burst off. You can pretty much go from no health to full health. It's amazing. Bolt Escape, in my recent videos, you'll see I switched back to Ball of Lightning, and I'm regretting it. So I'm going to have to respec my entire thing just to go back to Streak. I really wish ZeniMax would switch that. I wish you could just respec one ability instead of having to respec your entire class. It really sucks. So I am going back to Streak. I love the Disorient and the damage it does. I was... because I wasn't using Streak as much, I wanted it to be more of a defensive spell, but I was very wrong in that, so I am going back with Streak. Streak goes there. And again, all passives are taken. Moving on to weapons, as you know if you've seen my videos, I am Destro Resto. I have started using some of the Destro abilities such as Destructive Reach, mainly when fighting a melee class. If you're able to set up your abilities, such as the duels that I've been doing, you can set up for the class that you're fighting. I use Destructive Reach. I also use Crushing Shock a lot. Crushing Shock is a great ability. Procs Crystal Fragments also applies those status effects, and if you catch somebody casting, it will stun them for 3 seconds and set them off balance. I typically run with Crushing Shock now. Wall of Elements, PvE, AoE. Weakness to elements. This Elemental Drain, I have heard, can be a very effective ability. I just haven't found a place to fit it into the rotation, but it does reduce the target's spell resistance, as well as restoring 100 magicka when you're attacking the target. So I may have to find a way to put this into the build. It seems like it could be very useful. Impulse, you know about, the best AoE ability probably in the game. Pulsar I prefer because it does remove that initial 10% off the entire health pool. I do take all passives. Resto Staff, I do take Healing Springs for group PvP, and the regeneration, typically you would see I was using rapid regeneration. The reason I was doing this is because mutagen was broken for the first part of the game. It wasn't giving you that extra 20% heal the extra heal when you fall below 20%. Now that they have fixed it, and I have respect, I have switched back to mutagen. Blessing Protection is solely for just healing specs. It's not very good spell to begin with. And Steadfast Ward, I was using Ward Ally before to shield other allies. I have switched to Healing Ward again because I haven't started doing more duels and 1v1 stuff. Healing Ward is the same thing as Ward Ally, except it gives you a heal with it. So it's a great ability. Make sure you don't use this unless you are at pretty low health. You're really wasting its effectiveness by using it at full health. This is definitely a lifesaver type ability. And Resto Staff, take all passives, no brainers. Armor, as you know, we are full light armor, so all passives are needed. And I have chosen to use Harness Magicka now as well. This, coupled with Conjured Ward, is a great damage mitigation. You're taking 50% less spell damage while putting 2 damage shields on you. So you're boosting your health pretty much. Spammable shields. Again, you have to definitely watch your magicka when using these. But you switch to you streak away, you switch to your defensive bar and pop these 2 shields, and it definitely increases your survivability tenfold. It's fantastic. No medium, no heavy, but I do level up heavy enough to get a movable. Movable is great in certain situations. I highly recommend having that at your disposal. And as I explained, I have taken Soul Assault as well. This thing is disgusting. The damage that this thing does at full level is unbelievable. I mean, I've seen some people hit for like 5k with this. It's crazy. And I'm not going to go over the rest of this stuff. These are all just for fun to me. Werewolf and Vampire, I don't like vampires. If you're a certain class, can be very effective. Take the Devouring Swarm for group stuff. The more people Devouring Swarm hits, the more it heals you. If you're doing a smaller scale stuff, 1v1s, 2v2s, Clouding Swarm is amazing. If you are a vampire, of course, take all your passives. And Werewolf, I believe I only see people using it for this Blood Rage, generating the 2 ultimate by taking any damage. I have yet to see anybody switch to a Werewolf in PvP. Mages Guilds, I explained that I am not using Inner Light anymore. That is because I'm going to try using the Spell Crit Potions in conjunction with having room for other abilities. I think it's going to be a better choice. Take all passives. Once I level up the Mages Guilds, of course I'm going to be using Ice Comet here. Ice Comet's the one that snares them. Shooting Star is also viable. It restores 9 ultimate, but this thing hits like a truck, so I definitely want to try that out. And I've heard Spell Symmetry is also fantastic. Restore Magicka for 0 health loss, and also reduces the cost of your next Magicka ability by 25%. So if I can fit this into the rotation, I think it would be very useful. Let's Let me see, what am I missing? Fighters Guild, no. Alliance War, supports, Reviving Barrier. If you're in group PvP, there is no better ability than Reviving Barrier. This thing is ridiculous. I take it. And I do take all passives in both Assault and Support. I'm not all the way there yet. I haven't leveled them up all the way, but I will be taking them, so I'll just show you that. And of course, the racials, you take them all. No brainers. I don't know why you can put a point into that. You don't need to put a point into those. Crafting, I'm not going to go over. So that pretty much covers everything, guys. Like I said, there is. Oh, this is typically fit. I didn't get the healing ward. There we go. This is typically fit with the healing ward. There we are. That is usually what my build looks like these days. Really depends on your playstyle, guys. You know, if you're more upfront and in your face type of sorcerer, you can definitely switch these out. You know, for some different abilities. But like I said, crushing shock can be replaced with that destructive reach, depending if you're fighting a melee or a sorc. Hardened ward, I will also put here. You know, if I do want to go with that traditional build where I can still kite and mitigate damage, as well as still putting out some pretty big deeps with the curse. You know, using Endless Fury to get those instant crystal fragment procs along with curse. You know, all these. That's the main thing. Every ability should be able to proc crystal fragments. You know, sometimes I'll even switch this out with crystal fragments, so that every ability I cast, no matter what, can proc crystal fragments. I'm always able to put out that instant knockdown. You know, not to mention it hits like a truck. So, like I said, it's up to you guys. You know, you've got the abilities that I think are most useful as a sorcerer, so you can kind of rotate them out and switch them out for how you like to play the game. But make sure you subscribe to the channel to see future Sorcerer PvP guides and you know, some awesome gameplay videos, as well as future episodes of ESO Duels. If you haven't checked that out, it's a great series. You can definitely join up with the guild and get in on some of that action with us. And make sure you like and share the video as well to show support and help my channel grow. I greatly appreciate it always. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.